Hello, my name is David Frise and I'm Chief Executive of BESA, the Building Engineering Services Association. We have around 750 members who are the larger mechanical and electrical contractors in the MEP sector. I'm here today to talk about the Building Safety Act and does it change the rules? Or does it? Seems self-evident, of course it changes the rules, but probably not in a way that you might recognise. But first, I want to talk about why the Building Safety Act is important. Obviously, after Grenfell, we needed to improve safety of buildings. It's really important not just, though, to save lives, because 90% of us spend 90% of our time in a building. And buildings that work have huge societal benefit. The NHS spends billions every year treating people who are literally made sick by the buildings they live in. The benefits in terms of physical, mental health terms are enormous. Well-being and productivity improve massively in buildings that operate properly. And on top of that, nearly half of carbon emissions come from the built environment. So if we're looking to mitigate the climate crisis, the built environment has a huge part to play, and buildings that work makes a big difference. And yet we continue to deliver buildings that don't work and are unsafe. The Building Safety Act is designed to change that, and a key feature is that it applies to all buildings. The Building Safety Regulator says it applies from the shard to a shed. And building owners are responsible for their building's safe operation. And no, it's not the Construction Safety Act, but the Building Safety Act. That means the majority of this is going to fall into the operational phase of buildings, not construction. So when I posed the question about the Building Safety Act changing the rules at the beginning of this, I mean that to date, it probably hasn't impacted the FM world in the same way as those high-risk buildings, those HRBs and their gateways that are currently leading to so many project delays whilst designs are approved by the Building Safety Regulator. And at BESA, we've just conducted a piece of research that suggests there is a complete lack of understanding of the requirements of the Act and, crucially, of the roles that people may be unwittingly undertaking under the Building Safety Act. The survey went out to 22,000 companies in the MEP sector, and we had 330 returns, which may not sound a lot out of 22,000, but it is a lot for a survey. But out of that, only 9% of companies said they had taken meaningful action. That's 9% of the informed. That's about people who understand that the Building Safety Act applies to them and have done something about it. That's less than 1% if you take into account the whole 22,000 or the industry. Interestingly, understanding of the Building Safety Act is higher amongst BESA members, but that's not really a surprise because we've spent literally hundreds of thousands of pounds informing our members. We have a full-time person doing this and we have a marketing department to back that up. But I'm even a bit sceptical about the 9%. And this is because there is a cognitive dissonance within our industry. And by that I mean the difference between what you say you do and what you actually do. And we're all guilty of this. Mark Farmer calls this the ability to demonstrate superficial conformity. And the Building Safety Act will call this out. By superficial conformity, it means that we've got a checklist, we've done something that makes it look like we've conformed when we really haven't. The conformity is wafer thin and doesn't stand up to scrutiny. And you must be able to evidence that you have carried out your duty of care in whatever role you occupy. The selection of contractors on price or cuts to maintenance budgets will need to be justified. We've always done it this way, won't be a defence, isn't a defence, and you may continue to be lucky. And in all likelihood, you'll get away with it until it really goes wrong. And then it will be really difficult. Because if you cannot evidence your compliance and justify what you've done, then you come into the criminal justice system. And you will all be aware that the criminal justice system is pretty broken. You can expect a long, long wait for a decision to be made on whether or not any action would be taken. Justice is extremely slow. And you can wait possibly years before you hear. Years of sleepless nights. Listen to the Grenfell podcasts of people giving evidence. They're broken. And it's not a surprise. So I would ask you to think about your responsibilities. Would you be able to evidence and justify decisions perhaps many years in the future? And I'd also add a note on delegation. You cannot outsource responsibility. I joined the Royal Navy many, many years ago, as you can tell. But day one, lesson one, is that you can never delegate responsibility. If you're the captain of a ship and it runs aground, they court-martial you. Very famously, the captain of HMS Nottingham got court-martialed when his ship ran aground, and he wasn't even on board at the time. So if you do nothing else at the end of this conference, please read up on the Building Safety Act and find out where your responsibilities lie. Get your ducks in a row while there is time. And if you need more information, you can find out about the Building Safety Act on the BESA website. And if you really feel you want to be informed, join BESA and expand your learning circle from one company to 750 companies. Thank you very much for your time. Good afternoon.